What is crystal meth like? What's up, guys? My name is Eric. I wanted to share my unbiased opinion of what it was like taking crystal meth. Crystal meth was not my drug of choice. My drugs of choice were alcohol and cocaine. But because of cocaine, I enjoyed and was obsessed with snorting things as an active addict. And I share this for educational purposes only because I don't think a lot of people really realize the insanity of addiction, the obsession of addiction. And I think the more that we share our experiences, the more that it helps people understand truly how sick we are as addicts, and even those who are struggling want to get sober. Because I enjoyed snorting things, it made it very easy for me to snort crystal meth, and it was never by choice. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. Crystal meth would be just laid out for me because I would trust the people I was with that it was cocaine. They knew that I wanted cocaine. We're typically at a dealer or a trap house. Line would already be laid out, mainly because you don't want somebody to necessarily heat up or hot plate crystal meth because it can melt it some. That would be hot railing in a sense. And you would also know that it's actually not the substance. So when it is laid out and you're paying attention to it, it is not a white color. It was always kind of a yellowish color in a sense. So it did kind of match up to, especially when you're drunk, what cocaine looks like. Because pure cocaine isn't white. Pure cocaine is a yellowish tint to it. It's kind of fish scaly. So they are a little bit similar, but where cocaine does have some powder because it's usually always cut, crystal meth does not. It is all rock. It does lay out in a line just like cocaine did, and I would end up now snorting it up because it looked like cocaine. My friends told me it was cocaine. I'm assuming it's cocaine, and that's what I wanted. I got to snort something, and I would end up doing a line of crystal meth. What I would notice right away, it doesn't smell the same. Crystal meth is extremely chemical. It is 100% synthetic. Where with cocaine, there is some natural coca plant in it, essentially. Who knows how much because of how much it really is cut. When I was an active addict, this is back in 2015 to 2017 is when I was really hardcore into my addiction. Even before then, I had to go through phases of a lot of cocaine use. And so when you would snort this, cocaine has more of a bitter smell to it, where this was very chemical. The drip completely different. This would feel like glass shards tearing up into my sinuses. My eyes would start to water and I could feel it burning down, and it was a chemical drip, where with cocaine, it was smoother. It didn't burn my face. More of almost like a kerosene gasoline type taste. So that was the first thing that was always a sign that I hadn't done cocaine. This actually ended up being what crystal meth was like. I never wanted to smoke crystal meth. I will get that out of the way. So I've never smoked it. It was never something I ever seeked out and wanted to do. When it came to IVing it, I had a fear of needles. So I never IV'd a drug before in my life. I was too afraid to do that. I never ingested crystal meth. It just didn't make any sense to me to do it. And so when it came to snorting it though, it never dawned on me, essentially, I guess, that you could snort crystal meth. So now that I'd done it, the high itself, because I am ADHD, the massive amount of dopamine that it created didn't give me a big mood energy. It gave me a calmness that was still wired, if this makes sense. And it's the easiest way I can explain it. I think anybody who's done it maybe will relate to this, is that I was able to focus in and slow down. The massive amount of dopamine would, just like with cocaine, override how much alcohol was in my system, which I think is extremely dangerous, because when you have something that overrides alcohol effects, you are still driving drunk, you're still doing things drunk and heavily intoxicated, but because of the amount of dopamine being created, you don't realize quite how drunk you are. It did override, just like with cocaine in that aspect. The high was actually a calmer high. It wasn't a happy high. Even though it produced a massive amount of dopamine, it almost created too much dopamine, where it's very similar to like with ADHD meds, you go into a hyperfixation all of a sudden. Where with cocaine, it was like a focus, hoorah, big mood energy, anxiety's gone, depression's gone. Where with this, it became obsessed, hyper-focused, and I could become obsessed on drinking, hyper-focused on drinking, hyper-focused on anger, which was usually the case because I'd end up getting very angry, realizing what drug I had just done, looking at my friends going, hey, this was not cocaine. What did I just do? I mean, and that's alone an insane thing to do, to look at your friends who are supposedly your friends and ask them what drug you just snorted. That goes to show how easy it is to OD even nowadays when it comes to like fentanyl and some of the stuff that's cut into cocaine even, or into anything that you snort. Addicts will snort it before they ask what it is. I mean, that's what we do because of our strange obsession, sickness, that desire to numb. It gave me a focus, a lot of anger because of that dopamine. It wasn't a lot, it was a jittery, but it was also a very clear focus. I wasn't as springy, energetic, and any of that as I was with cocaine. I was a lot more of a downer almost to me. Mood-wise, it actually made me very depressed when I used it. It brought me to a calmer level of depression. Anxiety did go away. It allowed me also to focus in. It was essentially like taking, the easiest way I can explain it is like a dirty version of my ADHD meds. Because I was able to function, I was able to talk, I realized what I did, I went very logical, that I realized what it was. I was upset. This amazing thing was I was able to sleep on it. When I had done it, I'd only done it a handful of times, and every time that I did it, when I would realize that I had done it, I would end up being very upset for a while, to the point where I would end up and I'd go to bed. And I could sleep on this. That's, I think, a huge sign if you're ADHD in a way, is if you're sleeping on stimulants, because it does halt that inner dialogue for you. So this did halt that inner dialogue for me. It did get to the point where I was able to sleep on it. I wasn't in the mood to party anymore. I wasn't excitable. I was very calm, where with a lot of different other stimulants out there, especially like cocaine, I wanted to go do stuff. I became very active. This, I was not active all of a sudden. This, I was very closed in. So that was a huge change when it came to how it was affecting me. So these are just some of the cases of the differences when it came to this drug. Now, with cocaine, I could feel it leaving my system. I could feel the depression coming on. I could feel the cocaine drop. With crystal meth, it does last in your system now for hours compared to what cocaine does. And how it leaves your system, I will say it didn't drop me as hard as what cocaine did. It was a little bit more of a mellower drop, but I could still feel it leaving my system at the times I did not actually sleep while using it. So as I could feel it leaving my system, it wasn't like an overwhelming depression. It was a creeping depression. It was a creeping anxiety, where with stimulants like Coke that exit out of your system immediately, I mean, after about 15 minutes, it is gone, 0 to 100, 100 to 0 also, though, real quick. This was more of a gradual drop, and it was actually more gradual than what even like Adderall was when I take it for my ADHD meds. But it is still there. It does affect your serotonin. I never had visuals on it. I never had hallucinations on it. And I think a lot of the reason that I never had any of these is I would do it, and once I realized what I did, I had no desire to do any kind of substances that night whatsoever, unless it was cocaine. There was one night where I was able to get cocaine. If it was only crystal meth, I did not want to do it anymore, because I did not want that feeling. Like, I had it so burned in my brain that crystal meth was this dirty, I'm going to lose my teeth, I'm going to be picking at my face drug, burned almost into my head of that this is what it is, that I had no desire to do any more of it. Where with cocaine, I couldn't stop. It was an obsession. Also, I think a lot of it has to do with how long it stays in your system too. So this is my experience, an unbiased experience when it came to this drug. To me, it was one of the scariest drugs there was, because I do understand and see the side of it if you do happen to get obsessed with this drug, of how it really leads you down a very dark, pathway, a very massive session. And the more and more that you could use of this, the more and more hyperfixated that you would get into the hallucinations, into the paranoia. I'm grateful I didn't have any of that. I'm grateful that I didn't do more than what I essentially did do. But that's why I think it's so important to share your experiences. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, hit the like and subscribe button, comment down below. Because the more that we share our experiences, the more that we share what we've been through, the more that helps people along their journey when they're trying to get sober, because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect when you're somebody who's not even an addict trying to understand addiction, because of how insane it is. As an addict, when you're trying to understand even your addiction, when you're trying to get sober, to try and be able to put it in, formulate it into words. The more that we share, the more that it helps everybody, I think, with the one thing that we struggle with the most, and that's feeling alone. So the more that we do share, the more that it educates others, the more that it helps us, the addicts in recovery, realizing that there's no right or wrong way of getting sober, whether it's inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, therapy, therapist, medication, whether it's going to NA, going to AA, the hospital, whatever it might be. Like, there is no right or wrong way of getting sober. It's your way of getting sober and finding what works for you. Because in the end, that's who matters, is you. You're the one that matters. So find what works for you and don't give up. For the one going through it right now, I am proud of you. You got this one day at a time.